Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Third and 20 Dynasty Podcast. Frank's always bringing the energy. Lounis, a little lackluster there. We're without Jake again this week. Technical issues. The Giants got his first win, and the whole world breaks down after that. Hopefully, he can be with us next week. I'm sure he'll be in the YouTube live commenting away. So if you're on the YouTube live, feel free to chirp with Jake. But yeah, season 2, episode 9. Week 4 in the books. We're on to week 5. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to kick it off with some injury news. I think right now the number one guy who went down, I'd say, is probably David Montgomery in terms of like what dynasty rankings were. I think I saw a report saying that he's out about 4 to 5 weeks. Correct me if that's wrong.
No, that's right.
So yeah, I don't know what you guys, Frank, I think you were the highest on David Montgomery of the three of us going into the season. What are your thoughts on him, rest of the season, what the Bears do?
Well, I think you're definitely thankful, especially because I have David Montgomery, that he's not out for the season. That was definitely the initial thought. And if you were watching the game, like instantly,
it looked like
you're thinking it's an ACL. It looked like one of the classic injuries, but no out for the season for David Montgomery. If you're a playoff team or a fringe playoff team, like he should be back for the playoff push, end of the season playoff push, and for the playoffs. But I mean, this is one of those scenarios where I actually think that one of Damien Williams or Khalil Herbert will be relevant. And if you can get them for cheap before people really see what they do, I would. I know me and JT both liked Khalil Herbert kind of coming into the rookie draft and whatnot. If he's a dude that you can pick up off of waivers, I think we're going to talk about him on waivers, but we can just knock him out now. I would really pick him up. I think that he's a guy that fits the system. Everyone's going to be saying, "Oh, Damien Williams," and I agree. Damien Williams has looked all right, but Khalil Herbert, to me, if given the opportunity, I really do think could be the guy to replace David Montgomery, and I think that he's the guy that I'm going to be looking to pick up over Damien Williams because of the price and because of the fact that I just think he brings a little bit more upside to the table.
I completely agree. I'm picking Herbert between the two.
Seriously? I thought you would be like a Damien Williams guy.
I'm never really been too into him. I just think Herbert's ceiling is higher, which is what you're always kind of looking at with these waiver wire pickups. Like, who is the potential to like really have like a higher ceiling in a best case scenario? And I think it's Herbert. It might not be right away, but maybe like midway through that game, they start giving him some touches. He starts looking good on some runs. I think a big part of both their production, though, is ultimately going to come down to like, can the offense look like it did last week and continue to be successful, or will it be kind of like weeks past? I think the offense is how it does in general is going to be the biggest thing that affects them. But I'm with you guys on Herbert over Williams.
I think Lounis got close to my point, but then a little bit steered away where it's like, yeah, Damien Williams is fine. Playoff Damien for his one good run. But like, the thing is, Montgomery is really only out 4 or 5 weeks, so we're going to see him back. And the question is, like, if Damien Williams starts playing well, he's not going to get, that much more touches. But if Khalil Herbert starts playing well, oh, look, we have this rookie. Look at what this guy can do. Here's some more target share for you, some more opportunities. And that goes a long way. Like, if Damien Williams does well during these games, you're not going to trade him for much more. If Khalil Herbert does well, you are going to trade him for a lot more. So, I mean, I feel like most leagues I'm in, he's not really that much on waivers. I'd say Damien Williams I find more to be. But either way, I wouldn't mind dropping a decent amount of fab on these guys because you're not likely to find a whole lot of guys at this point in the season. All right. Moving on, though, we're going to talk about Jimmy G. Weird one. I still think we know what it is exactly. Like,
they just said a calf injury.
Yeah. His calf was hurt, but like he was talking during his press conference, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what it is yet. Like, hopefully it's not this, hopefully it's not that. Then today, we're recording on Tuesday, Shanahan comes out and says, he might play this week. We don't know. Like, we hope to have him back this week. Personally, I don't think they're going to rush him back against the Cardinals. I just think that's not a good idea. We saw what they did last year with him against the Dolphins and his ankle injury and how bad he looked coming back from an injury. It's kind of unfortunate that you're throwing Trey Lance into this situation, though. I think they didn't really want to do that. but it is also exciting to see what Trey Lance can do. I don't know what you guys think. Like, do you think Jimmy G has any chance of playing this week?
I think they rest him this week.
All right, and then my next question is, whenever Jimmy G comes back, because I think they have a game this week, a game next week, and then I think they have a bye. But whenever Jimmy G comes back, is it his starting job?
So I know I talked about this a little bit in our just own group chat. I think Fields has a much higher chance between him and Lance of kind of keeping the starting job. Because if you're 49ers, San Francisco, you have a playoff ready roster. You're trying to win games right now. So I understand someone like Chicago where you're like, oh, I'll leave the rookie and let them develop more. But if you're San Francisco, you're trying to win games right now. And even though I really like Trey Lance and I think he's going to become a really good quarterback, for this season, who do I trust more in like a high stakes situation? It's Jimmy G. And it's not like he was playing bad this year. Like he should have had what would have been a game winning drive against Green Bay had Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams not been on the other side of the ball. So I think Lance, it'll be interesting to see how he does. I thought he was like a little bit erratic in the half, but at the same time, he was producing fantasy wise. He had like almost 20 points in that second half.
Trey Lance had over 20. He had barely over 20. I mean, it
yeah.
depends on where, but
and you saw his rushing upside. You saw him make some nice throws. But I do think it's Jimmy G's spot when he gets back just because of the position the 49ers are in as a team.
I will say Trey Lance looked raw, though. Like
yeah.
He was definitely throwing behind. He was very quick to run. Like, it was like, look at your first receiver, then run. But, like, I don't know who expected much more out of a quarterback that was off a whole year prior. Like, he played one game and only really has 1 year of college experience. Like, I think everyone should expect at least for him to be that kind of like moldable quarterback, I'd say. And I mean, personally, this hasn't really changed my whole feeling about where Trey Lance stands. Like, I think we've just seen what he can do, though, and it's exciting. It's not the safest play, but it's exciting.
I was really impressed by Trey Lance.
Wow. Okay.
I think people are making a little bit bigger of a deal, like all the rookie quarterback stuff. Well, first things first, I don't think Trey Lance is as raw as the consensus does. I understand the guy hasn't played a whole lot, but where I find him to be raw is simply in his throwing mechanics and a little bit I think he could fine tune his release and his throwing mechanics just a little bit because he has a little bit of a weird dip in his throw. I think he even could get the ball out a little bit quicker, work on some of those wacky little arm angles and just be a little bit more accurate. But in terms of knowing the plays, kind of having the feel and the speed of the NFL game down, I actually think he's really good. And other than Mac Jones, I think he's like the furthest along. And one of the biggest reasons I like him is because, dude, he has a rushing floor. He has that rushing floor that you wanted Justin Fields to have. I don't necessarily want to just compare the two, but whenever the dude touches the field, he's getting 30 yards minimum. Every game, it seems like he's scoring a touchdown. I think we can expect to see that continue if he gets the starting job. It's not like that's all of a sudden going to disappear. So from a fantasy standpoint, if Trey Lance is playing, you can play him. I think he could definitely be a low-end quarterback one. And kind of going back to Jimmy G, I really like that you brought up the Miami game because, dude, this is a quarterback that cannot play when his feet are getting tangled up or hurt. He doesn't just want, he needs to be able to drive off of his back foot to make throws. He doesn't have the arm talent to be able to get away with that. Dude, I'm starting to feel like it's wheels up for Trey Lance, and I feel
you think he's going to keep the starting spot?
Oh,
I think there's a chance. Like at first, I think he's definitely going to play. And if I'm Kyle Shanahan, dude, I don't want to play an injured Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's what I'm saying. I'm being extra precautious with Jimmy G. I'm letting him take all the time he needs.
I think he can come back though. Like when Jimmy G is healthy and ready to go, I think he can come back, especially when you come up against a sick defense. But it's still going to be Trey Lance getting plays and getting some drives even during the games and more snaps in the red zone. But I think for the short term, it's Trey Lance.
And to a point you brought up about Lance's rushing floor, I actually talked to JT just about this yesterday. A quarterback comparison. Obviously, Trey Lance's ceiling is significantly higher, but I brought up the comparison of he kind of has that Jalen Hurts effect where like even if he doesn't have an actual football like great game, he's still going to give you a pretty good fantasy performance just because of his rushing upside. He's going to give you minimum 30 to 40 yards every game rushing, and then probably touchdown. I know the Shanahan loves to use him in the red zone on sweeps. So I'm with you where if Lance is starting, I feel comfortable starting him.
Yeah, I feel like we might be spending a little too much time, but I'll just wrap up by saying like I got to make one correction. They're on a bye after this week. They play the Cardinals this week, then they're on a bye. So to me, that kind of more seems like they're going to have Jimmy G back. I don't know. But what I will say is like this is a team that I'm pretty sure they feel like they can compete. Like they're in the toughest division, but they feel like they can compete. And so it's kind of exciting and a little scary when you're going to have someone like Trey Lance in this game because it's just like Frank said, wheels up where we've seen Trevor Lawrence. They've been holding him back for running. We just kind of saw a glimpse of it on Thursday, but they weren't really letting Trevor Lawrence move around. We're not really seeing a whole lot of what Justin Fields can do yet. Like, but here, like the end game is win. Like this is a team that wants to make the playoffs. This is a team that wants to, go to the Super Bowl. They were there just 2 years ago. Like it's just full go. Like Trey Lance, you're in, you're going. But moving on, I kind of just mentioned him, Trevor Lawrence. One of his top receivers, DJ Chark, likely out for the season, broken ankle. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it sucks. It was such a freak accident too.
Yeah, it sucks for Chark, but I thought it was kind of noticeable that Shenault had his most productive game of the season in the game Chark was out. So I think we can expect to see Shenault kind of have a higher floor in all these games for the rest of the season.
I mean, the other guy that I think we could actually see a little bit of work increase, and you talk about I'll save him for waivers. I'm actually going to add him because I'm not sure we have him. I'm not saving him. Fuck it. Jamal Agnew. He had that really impressive catch. He's a a converted defensive back. I think easily the best kick return in the NFL, and it's not even close. Dude, like, he's going to get an opportunity here because Tavon Austin was definitely the primary beneficiary at first. Probably a little bit of Tyron Johnson as well. But if Jamal Agnew keeps making plays and he's just so dangerous with the ball in his hands, like, I think he's a guy that can definitely see an increased workload. And like you said, Laviska Shenault. I just think Laviska Shenault just had a good game because he's physical, right? He was the guy that was able to beat man coverage. Marvin Jones was kind of just getting bitched all game. So I think that's more the reason why Laviska Shenault saw that good day, not necessarily because DJ Chark was hurt.
That's a fair point.
I like Laviska Shenault.
Same.
I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot. Like, it sucks DJ Chark's hurt, but I just, other than the obvious, I think it just opens up more chances for these guys and Jamal Agnew. I don't really think it really affects Trevor Lawrence at all. I don't think this has a big impact.
The biggest thing impacting Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. Like,
well, to dip into a little bit, he's got a weird circus going around him.
I was about to say the biggest thing affecting him is the girls in Ohio bars.
Who knows? This time next week we might be talking and Urban Meyer's not the head coach of Jacksonville. I don't know. I thought if he was going to get fired, it would have been today, just after the whole storm happening. He didn't get fired, so at this point, I think he's got the job for at least a little while. I don't know. Not great.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now.
Yeah, moving on. We're talking breaking down r/Dynasty and Twitter. The first one, Frank, you're pulling it up. r/Dynasty had a good conversation about what's the value of a contender's first.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. What is the value of a first-round pick for a win-now team in Dynasty? Not just in general for a win-now team. This guy, blurb is on the screen, but for those listening, I'm new to Dynasty and in my league, I apparently have different opinion on first-round picks. They have been aggressively trading them for mid-tier players. So I'm wondering if I'm overvaluing first or they're overvaluing him. And some of the examples that he gave was Antonio Brown for a 2023 first, Tyler Boyd for a 2022 first, and then Kirk Cousins and Cordarrelle Patterson for a 2023 first. So he kind of wanted the opinion on what the value of first-round picks are, especially contender first-round picks. And I think this is an interesting discussion because I am kind of the belief that contender first-round picks are somewhat overvalued but definitely not in this case.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you're able
not
to get
that much.
like Tyler Boyd. I feel like is a dude that you struggle to trade for an early second, let alone a 2022 first round pick. Antonio Brown, 34-year-old receiver. I understand he's good, but not worth to me a 2023 first round pick. So, man, I kind of just wanted to like talk about where you guys kind of draw the line for contender first round picks. Clearly, we all think that these are great deals for the first round pick, but like, where for you is the line for like a win now first for like a receiver? Let's just say.
So a lot of times, as a contender, if I'm using my first, it's pretty rare when I'm a contender and I'm trading away my first, where that's going to be the only piece I'm shipping out. How I kind of view that first is that'll be the main piece of a trade and a side thing. And if I'm trading that as a contender, I want someone who I know, like, okay, I can count on this person to start week in and week out of my lineup. And I treat all first that way. Like I'm not going to trade a first for someone who maybe is inconsistent or who I don't feel good about starting a certain week. For like an example, I made a trade where I traded Elijah Moore and a contender first for McLaurin. Like I'm fine with using in that package where I know it's someone who I can count on week in and week out, feel comfortable starting. When you get to someone like Antonio Brown, he's going to give you like good weeks, but he's not someone who I'm exactly counting on a week-to-week basis. If you feel like you're a contender, that's not the type of deal I'm looking to include my first in.
I mean, personally, for me, if you go into thirdand20.com, Frank and I have our rankings, and we kind of do break it down by draft picks, where we have each guy rated. And I think where those guys going, where he's talking about he's given up Kirk Cousins and Cordell Patterson for first, I think the reason that's significant is it's probably a 1 QB league. Because otherwise, like, I don't think that's that.
I was gonna say that's a super flex one. That was the one that's fine.
Yeah, I have Kirk Cousins rated about like a late first. Like, I think he's. I mean, this is going to be a little side tangent. I just think he's like a very underrated quarterback. I think he just produces. He'll get you that borderline QB1, high end QB2 kind of season. And, you know, that's probably what I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for a high end QB2 that I will feel comfortable being on my squad for the next 3 years. That's around where I'd give a late first for. Running backs are kind of tricky. They have to be someone that I feel like is going to win me the league. Last year, Jake and I did like I think it was like Black Friday. We were talking about what players what we trade for right before the playoffs, and David Montgomery is someone that we shouted out that we give up a late first, early second for. That kind of player, the one that we like think has that league-winning upside, which I mean he panned out and did. That's about where I draw the line, I would say. I don't know if you guys feel that that's unreasonable.
Well, part of my problem with the late contender first is that the difference between 111 and 108, I think, is a lot more significant than initially realized, especially at the time of the trade. And obviously, there's no way to tell before the playoffs. Oh, this guy's pick is going to be a 108. This guy's pick is going to be a 112. Right? There's really no way to predict that, especially in the first year of a dynasty league. But I always, especially in the first year, because this guy's talking about, oh, how do I value in the first year of my dynasty league? I love random first round picks in the first year of a dynasty league, especially once the rookie hype comes around.
Yeah.
A, that pick is going to increase in value. B, generally speaking, after the startup, a lot of the teams are more even compared to when you're like 3, 4, 5 years down the line. And the lines are, you know, you have teams that are clearly rebuilding and teams that have clearly been able to have some favorable moves and some favorable draft picks give them a huge value jump. So in the first year of a dynasty league, man, I'm not selling this late first unless I'm really getting a player that I like, a Deontay Johnson. I think if you really want a receiver and you're making the push, I can see the argument for trading a late first for an Allen Robinson, right? Getting a guy that you really think, okay, 2 years, 3 years, I can get some elite production out of. I think that is a great move, selling high on your first round pick. But trading him for a Tyler Boyd is just, not only is it just not a great deal because you can get a better player, you're just trading him for an illiquid player. It's hard to trade Tyler Boyd, especially come the offseason, once you have all these shiny new guys coming out in the block and you see him, he's third on the depth chart. Like, you're just never going to be able to sniff that price for him ever again.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I agree with your point about one. It's kind of when it's your first year and everyone's so much more even, it's impossible to predict where those first end up. And second, to the person who's their first year in Dynasty, one thing that also kind of helps give you value is just, I know for us over the years, we kind of know like which players have gone in that late first range and kind of what level of prospects to expect and what kind of outcomes they can get, good or bad, like higher chances of bust there, but also the chance that they can turn to a star. So the more years you go by, and if you want to look up previous rookie drafts, that can kind of give you an idea of the prospects that kind of fall back there, both the good and bad.
But also, like, realistically, how much more is Mike Evans than a late contender first? How much more is, I mean, like I just kind of mentioned, Allen Robinson. I think a lot of people right now would accept a late first straight up for Allen Robinson. And you're just buying a player that has way better pedigree. And Allen Robinson is a dude that I'm pretty sure he's scheduled to be a free agent. He did not sign an extension.
He's on a franchise tag. He's on
which is one of the few times where it's like that actually might massively help him.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that at the end of the day, if you're going to sell your late first, you want to buy a guy that has good enough pedigree where not only is he going to help me this year, he's going to give me another year or two of production. And you can kind of look back down the line and say, hey, I missed out on the hype, but I got a damn good player that I can start every week, week in and week out.
On our Dynasty rankings, I don't know if you were looking at, I mean, I guess ours are pretty similar, but I have Allen Robinson ranked as a random year 109 and Mike Evans as a random year 108. And I think those are both good targets if you're trading away a contender first.
Yeah, I have them right around the same spot. I'm looking at my rankings.
Yeah. All right. This one's interesting. Jake's not here. I mean, I don't know if we really could classify Jake as like a Devy guy. Like, he just kind of likes college football. But with Bijan Robinson, he's someone that we've been seeing for a while now, right? Like, I've been hearing about him since end of last year, and I'm sure there are people out there who are actually in Devy who have been scouting him since high school. That's not me. That's not what we do. But Bijan Robinson has looked amazing on Texas. Like, generational, that term gets thrown out a lot, but he's looked
he's
very,
on that track.
very good. Yeah, he's looked very, very good.
Yeah,
if you
like
follow
that.
The Campus to Canton guys, they showed they tweeted out recently a graph. I should have brought that up. I was looking for it. Where like they compared his career trajectory so far to Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's right there with them. Right?
He's looked very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna get Saquon level of hype.
So Jeff Bell on Twitter, for whom J Bell tolls, he tweeted out, which running backs would you trade right now in NFL, right, for Bijan Robinson? And a lot of the big Devy guys are saying basically none of them. Like, they'd rather just wait on Bijan. Are you guys at that point too?
So to clarify what you're saying, they want Bijan over all of those big name guys. Like, they want Bijan over Dalvin Cook or over.
Yeah, the only ones that people have been consistently mentioning are Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Yep. Okay, he's the one that you take him over. A lot of people like Swift, and then you have a couple of people. Okay, Alvin Kamara, those guys. But for the most part, most of these Devy guys would not take 5 running backs in the NFL over Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
I just think he is so young, and you know, the running back lifespan is so short that like the younger you could get your guys, and you know, with the kind of generational talent that we expect him to be, I understand it. Like, of course I'd trade Najee Harris, who is 23 years old and is looking solid, but you know, not amazing, for someone that's a lot younger and is going to have a longer span in the NFL. I think not trading, you know, I would rather have 5 running backs over Bijan Robinson, just because like you're getting the points now. We don't know what's going to happen with Bijan Robinson. Like, I think Mike Me Up on Twitter, Michael Liu, was saying like the only reason you wouldn't is because you're leveraging health Like, you don't know what he could be in a couple of years if he has like a major injury or whatnot, like a la Cam Akers. So there definitely are certain caveats and situation too. Like, I don't necessarily agree that, a running back on a bad team can't produce, but a running back with a bad coaching staff that doesn't know how to use him, that's something that I would be worried about. The Jags, not that James Robinson's any kind of generational guy, but the Jags have James Robinson and we're trying to split him with Carlos Hyde. I mean, luckily they've already figured out that that's the thing. We still have Jonathan Taylor splitting stuff with Nyheim Hines. Like, there's bad
Eagles
coaching
with Sanders.
Eagles with, I kind of like, I wasn't big on Kane Gainwell. Now we're going on a little side tangent. I wasn't big on him, but like, I'm starting to like him more.
JT, what running backs would you have over Bijan right now?
Right now, CMC, JT, Swift.
JT is Jonathan Taylor, if you didn't know.
Yeah, well, is that not like a known thing?
Just clarifying.
Yeah. I think it's tough. Like Saquon, I think I'd still rather have. Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, I think I'd rather have. And after that, it starts to tail off. Then there's like the Antonio Gibsons. Alvin Kamara is I'd probably rather have Bijan.
I would rather have McCaffrey, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, and Nick Chubb. That's it.
So yeah, you're different with me, Kamara and Swift.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Yeah, I mean,
the only other two running backs I honestly would question are Javonte Williams and Dalvin Cook, but I think I'd rather have Bijan over.
The one I'm considering, and I know injury makes it iffy. I just know this isn't an injury that's really have affected athletes like long term posted, but J.K. Dobbins, I would think about.
He would be close if assuming
he comes back healthy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I forgot about J.K. Dobbins for a little bit.
I think I discounted him too much because of the injury, and I'm kind of mad at myself for it. But I would 100%, 1,000% trade Gibson for Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
that is a no question for me. Like, once we get down to him, Derrick Henry, even Aaron Jones, and I love Aaron Jones. I
would trade him for. I would trade him for him.
Yeah,
it is weird though, because like. He doesn't come out this year, so you still have
it's 2024, right?
2023.
2023.
You have two NFL seasons before we see Bijan Robinson. So I don't know. Time does take a.
The other thing too, though, that might be a bait is that Chark is going to use his running backs in the passing game way more, and honestly, I think better than a lot of other coaches will. I think the first example you saw is Najee Harris. I mean, you just saw how much more of a threat Najee Harris was vertically down the field than he has been with Pittsburgh. Now, that might be because the Pittsburgh offense is terrible and they can't block about anything. They did all right against the Packers. It was getting there. It's still not where it needs to be. So maybe they just can't, but I think that might be somewhat of a bait, is that Chark is just more willing to use his running back in the passing game than a whole lot of other coaches are willing, even though I think that's the way that it is trending in the NFL. It's just something to watch out for.
All right. So moving on, we're going to talk about the Eagles running backs on Reddit. They made a post. Eagles running backs didn't get
any carries.
They had 3 carries. Now, against the Dallas Cowboys, they had more last week in week 4.
I think it was 12 total for the game.
12. Lounis, you're an Eagles guy. I wish we had
Jake, I watched
Kenny Gainwell guy.
I mean, I watched both those games in entirety. I was paying attention to
just as many shares as Kenny Gainwell as Jake does. That's all
yeah,
I'm saying.
Jake's the one that hypes up his guys.
Hypes him up.
His guys only.
So what's happening a lot, at least the past 2 weeks, the game script has not really helped them. The Eagles defense has given up 40 points in 2 straight weeks. And the result of that is Gainwell is getting more receiving work than Sanders. What happens most of the time is Sanders will get majority of snaps. And then when the Eagles are really playing from behind in the fourth, where it's passing every play, they'll leave Gainwell in. And that's where we kind of see those touches getting even. But while the game's competitive, it's still been Sanders' majority, probably 2/3 of the time, maybe 60 to 70% Sanders. I do think for this, game script has been a big part of it, because I don't. It's just been so weird. Like obviously they're playing from behind the majority of these games. I wouldn't go full panic because I think both of them are very talented running backs. And I see people starting the full-on panic from them. It's just the result of like they played Dallas and Kansas City, and both of them were two extremely high-powered offenses that were scoring on nearly every drive early on. And it does also come down to Nick Sirianni. We've seen Sirianni with running backs from the Colts system, like how the Colts treat their running backs. So if your question is like the panic, I don't know. I'm still, if people are selling low on either of those backs, I'm buying low on both of them just because ultimately I believe in the talent at the end of the day. But the game script has kind of fucked them these past 2 weeks.
I don't think that's any excuse, though. I think that Nick Sirianni just has
no,
to
don't get me wrong.
You're not
I
going
think
to win games with Jalen Hurts.
No, I think Sirianni takes a lot of fault. I'm just saying like what's been ended up happening. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I think that they shouldn't put the entire game on Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts is going to end up the team's leading rusher by like a good margin at this rate.
Dude, Nick Sirianni has as many pens in his damn hat as he does
running back
in
carries.
a football freaking game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Dude, use some of these damn pens and scheme up some runs. A little duo action. A little inside zone, maybe. Something. Hebus bejeebus, man. Like if you're the Eagles, you are not going to be able to win football games without being able to establish the run way more so than every other team. I don't care what the data analytics says, because the data analytics crap is going to be skewed by the fact that there are teams that have Justin Herbert's and Patrick Mahomes's. They are the teams that can throw
get
the
away
ball
with
every play, and it does not matter because they're insane. Jalen Hurts ain't doing that. I don't care what the PFF grades say. I don't care what the other bullshit says. You need to run the football to have success. And until that happens, dude, I am not a huge fan of the Eagles right now. It's funny because I feel like they have the talent.
Ironically, if you look at the game, if you look at the Eagles' best game of the season against Atlanta, that's the game they ran by far. They had the most rush attempts by far out of any of the 4 games. They were able to establish a run.
It's just a weird instinct to lean on your. While he's not a rookie, he hasn't had.
It's his 8th start he just had. Yeah,
it's a weird instinct to lean on Jalen Hurts to try and lead you to victory against like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, like he's asking him to outduel Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes, and I'm just it's also, too much to put on him.
I understand. I like the RPO just as much as anyone else, and I feel like from an outside perspective, like, oh, Jalen Hurts would be a great RPO quarterback, especially because you can get him involved in the running in the RPOs. It's like, dude, clearly in that Cowboys game, this dude wants to hold on to the ball. He wants to be in space. Let's just make him a wide zone quarterback. Let's just establish the run and get him on boots and shit.
I think your issue with that too, though, is that he still is. Again, it's his 8th start where he's just not making those snap quick decisions yet that you need to in an RPO. And, that you'll get with experience if the Eagles stick with him. But, like, they're not letting him make those snap quick decisions. And that's causing, linemen to be downfield. It's just kind of screwing up the whole offense.
But at the same time, though, like he makes really good plays when he's able to extend the play. Like he looks downfield. You saw his best throw of the night was when he's scrambling out to the right, throws on the run, like 35 yards downfield, pinpoint touch pass. Let's enable that. Let's not just say, oh, well, sorry, Jalen, you need to make quicker decisions because we're going to be stuck in our ways and only call RPOs. Like, dude, let's tailor the game plan towards the team talents. And that's what pisses me off about the offense right now.
It's also weird to then, like, you're really trying to, like we were saying, you're trying to duel Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott. But then you're also, like, kicking field goals on, like, 4th and 3 from, like, the 10-yard line and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot
against
of,
Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a lot of,
and then they were like, I don't know, that game there were 3 touchdowns called back. And then also to the run game, it doesn't help that 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen are injured. I think the only one
every year.
I know. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, Lane Johnson wasn't injured. It was personal reasons. Brandon Brooks is out till midseason. Herbig, the other guard, I think is out for the year, and Maliata should be back any week. Jason Kelce is the only one who is a starter who played. Obviously, that doesn't help, but I think a big part of it comes down to Sirianni just needs to be better at play calling and not asking Jalen Hurts to just outduel these like really good quarterbacks.
I'm sorry, you can't convince me that Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, and Lane Johnson aren't moving people, and you have
Lane
Goddard
Johnson was
out
out,
there too,
I
it's
said.
like, fuck me. You can definitely call some runs. All right, let's move on.
All right. This one's an interesting one because I'm going to give credit to Bean Counter, DF Bean Counter. We mentioned him a lot. Where I didn't agree with this at first, and he was getting a lot of slack. Where DF Bean Counter said that DJ Moore should probably be valued around the same as AJ Brown, which meant bring DJ Moore up a little bit, bring AJ Brown down a little bit. And so far, that's proven to be true. DJ Moore looked very good against one of the, what I would say is, he's starting to become one of the top corners in Trayvon Diggs on the Cowboys. DJ Moore is produced. He's put up, crazy numbers with, well, not crazy, but he's put up, wide receiver 2 numbers with the likes of Kyle Allen or Brandon Allen, I forget which Allen, Teddy Bridgewater. Now he's got Sam Darnold, and he's actually looking like a full-fledged wide receiver 1, and that's what not 3rd and 20, sorry, what Reddit was asking. Is it safe to call DJ Moore an elite wide receiver now with Darnold at the helm? And I think the answer is,
there are not many wide receivers I'm trading DJ Moore for right now.
Yeah.
There's not. He's only 24, and I do agree with the sentiment. I think he's a wide receiver 1. He's in my top 10.
He's a wide receiver 1, but I think that we are starting to get a little bit ahead of ourselves to a certain extent.
Well, how so? Like, what's got you hesitating on DJ Moore?
First off, I don't think that he is proven enough that he can be that Tyreek Hill level, Devontae Adams level, DeAndre Hopkins level receiver. I'm not saying that he can't be. And JT, like towards the end of the offseason, you definitely convinced me on DJ Moore. And he was a guy that, especially in redraft leagues, like I was looking to buy at his ADP. And I will agree with you that with the whole AJ Brown thing, or at least with Bean Counter. But I am not instantly going to crown him as a top 5 receiver. I think he'd be close, but I still value him more as a low-end wide receiver 1 than, I'm going to go spend the farm and trade for DJ Moore. I think now we have kind of gotten to the point where DJ Moore is being more overvalued than fairly valued.
What I can see him as, though, even though I agree he's not in that very, very like top 3 tier where we see Jamar Chase is entering, Justin Jefferson is entered, and we see guys like Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. I think he can kind of be like a young Keenan Allen, where it's like he's finishing around like wide receiver 9 for multiple seasons, like somewhere in like that 7 to 11 range, where you can do that on a year-to-year basis, and that's extremely valuable, especially for someone that young.
Would you guys rather have DJ Moore or Amari Cooper?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
Would you rather have DJ Moore or CeeDee Lamb?
I'm still going CeeDee Lamb.
I think right now it's CeeDee by a little bit.
All right, that's I guess where we kind of, I don't know where they are on keep trade cut rankings, but that's where I'd rather have DJ Moore than CeeDee Lamb.
They're close though. CeeDee Lamb's only.
I still think I'd rather have Calvin Ridley than DJ Moore, even though that's going to be an out of consensus take right now.
We disagreed strongly on that one a while ago. I still stand, obviously, by where I'm still on the DJ Moore side there.
I think they should be right next to each other in the rankings.
Here's another one. This one is very close for me as well, so I think it might be pointless asking. But DJ Moore or Terry McLaurin?
Scary Terry.
Oh, fuck, that's tough. I'll go McLaurin, but not by much.
Terry McLaurin, like, listen, I like DJ Moore. I think he's a great player, and I agree with Lounis in that he could be one of those low-end wide receiver 1s for a long time. So I still value him as like a really good player, and I need to move him up in my rankings now that I'm looking at it. But to me, dude, Terry McLaurin, when I watch him, is just really freaking good. Like, dude, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I am doubling him every play. DJ Moore, I don't get that. Like, he's good, but I'm not doubling it. I will go one-on-one with him.
I find it, I just still, I don't know. I have a weird affinity for DJ Moore. But with Terry McLaurin, like, I just always go back to that Cowboys game on Thanksgiving where it's just like you put the ball in his hands, he just looked unstoppable. It was like And that was the game where he got outshined by Antonio Gibson too, because Antonio Gibson was the one scoring all the touchdowns. But
yeah,
Terry McLaurin just like we talk about quarterback proof. Look at who Terry McLaurin's had thrown to him. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lastly, as well, I just need to bring up the fact that let's not act like DJ Moore hasn't been with. I mean, Joe Brady right now is top 3 in every single wide receiver category since he's in any offense that he touches.
yeah.
I'm not saying that makes DJ Moore a bad player. It's something that you have to consider, especially because Joe Brady is going to be one of the top head coaching targets probably next season. I'm assuming that he's going to be getting a job. Christian McCaffrey has not been able to be healthy really the past 2 years. So, or like not 2 years, like this season and last year. So does that impact DJ Moore at all? Maybe. Terrace Marshall should be getting a little bit more involvement in the offense. Like, okay, maybe. It's just, I like DJ Moore. I'm not paying a top 5 wide receiver price for him. No shot.
Yeah, and what I think is nice about him is I still don't think you have to pay top 5. I mean, I could look it up, but I think he's more of like a fringe top 10 guy. Like,
where's he on keep trade cut? Is he wide receiver? What I'm gonna guess like 9 or 8.
Oh, who should I start this week? Adam Thielen or Kyle Pitts? That's the new keep trade cut thing.
Thielen for starting.
Yeah, I don't really care. All right, DJ Moore, wide receiver 7. Oh, he's shot up. Oh, he's valued right around. He's valued right around CeeDee Lamb. He's like literally right below CeeDee Lamb.
And then who's he right above?
Devontae Adams is right above him.
Damn.
And then, I didn't get the whole positional rankings, but yeah, you get the point. Right below him is AJ Brown.
Okay.
Terry McLaurin's actually below him, surprisingly. I did not think that would be a case. All right, well, maybe I was wrong. I thought he was still a good buy. It's looking like he's valued very highly. He's above Terry McLaurin, which I find surprising.
If I had DJ Moore, I would test the waters on what I could get for him. I wouldn't actively look to sell him, but if you can, I just think that this is a good scenario where you can like kind of stonk into a receiver that puts up just as much production, like a more Keenan Allen, maybe, right? Maybe he's not the best example. Maybe you try to go for someone a little bit younger, a little bit flashier, but the difference in value that you can get, because I mean, you're talking first plus value difference, right? And that's something that I would definitely be willing to do. I mean, maybe if you could even go into scary I doubt that you can do that, but maybe there is an owner who's like, oh, dude, DJ Moore, like, because I've seen people on Twitter that they will gladly take DJ Moore over CeeDee Lamb. Well, if that's actually the case, you should be able to move him into Terry McLaurin and get something on top of that.
I think it's very league dependent, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely league dependent, 100%.
All right, Frank, you might have to guide us through this one a little bit.
Hold on really quickly, JT. What about like T. Higgins? Because T. Higgins probably has seen a little bit of a blip because of his injury. I mean, you could get a good package on top of T. Higgins.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking now. That was a good question, Frank. Because looking now, you could get T. Higgins and Rashad Bateman for DJ Moore, and
I think you could get more.
T. Higgins, Laviska. Well, you don't really like Rashad Bateman, so like Laviska Shenault and T. Higgins and Allen Robinson, T. Higgins and Marquise Brown.
Dude, but with the recency, early season, man, it gets finicky because the recency bias is like way more apparent earlier in the season. I feel like once you get later in the season, people, because there are more games and you see like, oh, well, everyone has good games and bad games to a certain extent, unless you're one of those truly elite guys. All of a sudden, having 2 dud weeks like CeeDee Lamb has had matters way less because you've seen, oh, well, you remember that game where he went for like 9 touchdowns, right? Like, so now is like a really good opportunity to capitalize on the recency bias. And for T. Higgins, I mean, he's only done well. Like, he's a guy that I was low on. He's proved me wrong. He's just had a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. I just tried, kind of fixing a couple of trades. It looks like you could get a 2022, 2023 early second was not enough to move with T. Higgins for DJ Moore. but then a 2022 late first, 2023 late first was too much on top of T.
Who's wide receiver 5? Because I think that's the real price that you could.
I think
if
you
I'm
said
going to sell
Devontae
him,
Adams.
Devontae Adams, I think.
Yeah,
is wide
so
receiver
plug
5.
in because I think that's the valuation you're selling him at. You're like, okay, obviously he's wide receiver 7.
That's a late first, 2023 late first.
So that's definitely something that, I mean, if I'm a stonker, I'm licking my chops at that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe DJ Moore is one of those truly elite receivers. I'm selling at wide receiver price, especially for that kind of deal.
Maybe I'm wrong on Rashad Bateman. I mean, it's yet to be seen. But like, if I could get T. Higgins and Rashad Bateman for DJ Moore,
yeah, but
that's
dude,
very close.
I think,
or even like flipping like DJ Moore for like Deontay Johnson in pieces, or like Claypool in pieces.
It just feels like the time is now to strike. Even though we all like DJ Moore, there is a certain level of price tag that's like, dude, I can really put my team in a really good spot. And even if the deal doesn't perfectly pan out, it's like, dude, I have good, safe assets that I transitioned into.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into some Devy.
Some Devy action.
You're going to have to guide us through this one.
Okay, yeah. So Wandale Robinson, I'm pretty sure he's a transfer. So if someone wants to look that up, but he's a wide receiver for Kentucky.
Got you.
All the Devy guys I follow have been kind of like licking their chops over Wandale Robinson and what he's been showing. I haven't watched really any of his tape. But you look at, once again, Campus to Canton guys, please follow them because they are freaking awesome. They had a chart where it's like it's him and Treylon Burks are just clearly blowing everyone else out of the water, and Drake London was definitely up there as well. Like those three, they got these crazy metrics like receiving yards over team attempt average per conference, all this kind of crap. Those are the three dudes that like are just murking people, and he is not getting the recognition, at least from like the mainstream people, as Drake London and Treylon Burks have. So I think he's definitely a dude that if you're watching college football and Kentucky's on, like, go watch Wandale Robinson, because this could be a dude that's like a top 3 receiver prospect come drafts this year.
He went off against Florida. Yeah, he was a transfer. He went off against Florida. He's someone I saw him. He's actually someone who I saw a lot of this weekend because I was watching some of that Florida game. He's someone they just got the ball in his hands, and he was
like, I didn't get to.
Well, no, because he was the thing with a lot of it. It wasn't necessarily like beating guys downfield as much because they put him in the slot. They just got the ball in his hands and screens, and he was yards after catch was ridiculous. Kind of similar to with how the Purdue used Rondale Moore. And I see here 35.4% dominator rating. And that was heading into the Florida game where he went off. So he's someone where I saw him, like, he was just, you got the ball in his hands and he was making everyone on the Florida defense miss, and he was fast as fuck.
Yeah, it's just what I had heard is that he was a good touted prospect, like good player. And now in the Kentucky offense, he has just been fully unleashed. And it's just absolutely destroying people.
Yeah, no, he's been, like I said, kind of what like Rondale did last year for Purdue. He's just been their biggest playmaker.
Did you have something you were going to say, JT? I feel like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just saying he transferred from, Nebraska to after 2 seasons. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready or willing to put him in the conversation with Treylon Burks, Drake London, Dave Bell, but after that, I think it's open season. I think he could easily hop Olave. Oh, well, Garrett Wilson's
but dude,
up there
this
too,
freaking receiver class is starting to look really good.
Starting to get better, yeah.
I think they're the only part. You have some top end running backs that are solid. Then just I don't know what at quarterback at this point, and then a very good wide receiver class.
Well, the thing is, dude, Malik Willis. Everyone's gonna say it, the Konami code
truth.
Quarterback. Like, I mean, he's got the talent. I think he needs.
JT, you believe in him now?
Work.
I'm starting to sign up to Malik Willis. I think the issue could be like. Yeah, I mean, I've said my piece about him last week. I'm starting to believe more and more in him. I just want to see how he does against these Power 5 teams, though.
Yeah.
So
Dude, for him, like he's so raw to me. I need to see that top tier draft capital to believe in it. And until then, I'm a doubter.
Well, obviously, yeah. If he's not a top 15 pick, then I'm changing my
QB1.
Right away.
Next
QB1,
guy I
baby.
wanted to get into, another receiver in this stacked receiver class, Jahan Dotson, a wide receiver from Penn State. This is a guy that I have watched a decent amount. Really good deep threat. He's not the flashiest receiver in the world, but Penn State has really, like, low-key, really nice receiver pedigree. This is one of the better receivers to play for Penn State in like these past couple of years compared to some of these other dudes like the KJ Hamlers of the world. I'm really liking what I see out of Dotson. I'm not sure he's going to be like a first-round pick or anything like that. I think that there's a good chance he could be an early third, second-round pick in the NFL draft. And because he's not as flashy as some of these other receiver prospects that, dude, we've seen it in recent times, the second-round pick receivers, like early, mid-second-round pick guys that end up being really solid players. I feel like Jahan Dotson is one of those dudes that I'm already trying to target for those kinds of picks.
Dude, I think he's gonna be a first round pick.
He might be. I haven't
draft.
gotten enough into it, but I liked what I saw out of Dotson.
I think he's gonna be a first. He has some of the best hands in this draft. He's been making plays. He's been the security blanket.
Where was Godwin picked in rookie drafts? I bookmarked something.
I don't know, rookie. I know he was a second round pick in the NFL draft.
I don't think he's as good as Godwin. I'd definitely rather have Godwin than Dotson.
Yeah, but the thing is that like Godwin wasn't. He was definitely really good at Penn State, but he wasn't like amazing.
He's played better in the NFL.
What year did he come out? Do you
Dotson
know?
is someone I know a little more on.
I think Godwin was the same year as Barkley. So whatever that was, 2017.
Let me see this. Let's see if I can find it.
Or would that be 2018? Now that I think about it.
It might be 2018.
It might be 2018. Yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I could riff a little bit. Like, I don't know that much about Wandale Robinson, but I think I'm willing to take the chance on him over Dotson at this current point.
No, it's 2017.
Oh, dang, you're right. I don't know. He's solid. He's solid.
Yeah, dude, Chris Godwin. According to myzel.net, I think the data comes from Dynasty League Football. Chris Godwin on average was 206 in rookie drafts. Right around Curtis Samuel, Donta Foreman, Zay Jones, Jamal Williams, Juju Smith-Schuster. So somewhere in that early second range was Godwin, and that's where I feel like Dotson is going to kind of end up. Now this class was way loaded at running back.
I was going to say that was also a loaded class, yeah.
So like we just haven't seen that, but dude, it's the same story every year where running backs. It's like no matter what the freaking class is, you're gonna have the running backs that get hyped up at the end of rookie season, especially when the redraft crew starts getting into it. Because a lot of those dudes have high upside.
Yeah. All right. Well,
any trending downers? Quarterbacks still suck.
I'm trying to think of like certain players. Like, I don't think so. To me, most of the guys don't really move down a whole lot. What's his name? The Alabama running back. That's not Brian Robinson.
Oh, he was running over everyone.
Hey, he got injured. Whoever that was.
All right, we can get into waiver wire then.
All right, waiver wire. So we
did talk on Damian Williams and Herbert
and Agnew,
and we brought up Agnew. So we could talk about, I guess, Joe Mixon. Was it like an ankle sprain? I believe.
Apparently, he's week to week with something.
It's an ankle injury. I don't know what specifically it is.
But according to reports, is that like he could play. He might miss a week, but it might be nagging him for like the next couple of weeks. So we could see Samaje Perine get an increased workload for like more than just 1 week.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of why he's starting to trend up on the waiver wire, Samaje Perine. Obviously, you want that running back on the Bengals because for some reason they just want to give it to the running back rather than let Joe Burrow pass. To me, it's kind of like we've seen Samaje Perine. We've seen that. Like he had like I forget. I'm trying to pull it up. He had like 1 or 2 good games, I think, but otherwise he's just been. And for me, that's not really. If I'm looking to blow all my fab on someone, it's not really Samaje Perine. Yeah, he went off against Houston last year, but to be fair, who didn't?
Who didn't?
So,
yeah.
This is a really quick side. It's NFL news. It's not really related to fantasy, but Cowboys released Jalen Smith. I was looking up.
Oh yikes!
That was so random. But go on.
Yeah, Samaje Perine to me is a jag. If Joe Mixon can't have consistent success in the Bengals running attack, getting 20 carries, I really doubt that Samaje Perine is going to do anything.
I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to putting a waiver claim on him. I'm just not.
I'll bet a fab on him. Maybe if he has a decent week, I can sell him for anything.
I mean,
I have to be really desperate to drop a decent amount of fab on Perine.
We're talking very confident that he's not going to be good. So you could just spit it all on our faces. But yeah, I'm okay on missing out.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Patriots running back Brandon Bolden. He's another one that I'm just like,
He's interesting though because, dude, JJ Taylor had the fumble. He's gone. He's done sparse.
Ramondre Stevenson was a healthy scratch last week. I think.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
That was a little bit confusing.
He's just a rookie, man. Like he didn't play well when he got the opportunity off the preseason buzz. So, I think that's like Ramondre Stevenson's still a fine like long-term hold. Belichick isn't a guy that's known to like really give and have success with offensive rookie players, but Brandon Bolden, so you gotta just keep an eye on him because of the way the offense is structured, the fact that we've seen guys like James White have success in this offense. Brandon Bolden is the one dude that's stepping up of the running backs recently. He looks the most dynamic against the Bucs, so I think he's worth bidding a decent amount of fab on, and is a guy that, especially if you're a running back needy team, I don't think he has a ton of upside, but he could have a solid like 6 to 8 point floor as a desperation RB2 play.
Yeah, to me, 6 to 8 points doesn't do it. I don't know. There's no analytics, there's no dynasty in it.
I feel like we've seen this in the past with Brandon Bolden. We'll have like 2 or 3 decent games for New England and just kind of fade off. So I don't know. The New England backfield continues to be a mystery like it has for the past decade.
Yeah, you essentially summed up what I was just about to say. Like, I can't point you to anything, but it's a New England running back, and I know he's going to have his good games, and then he's just going to disappear. And that's going to be Brandon Bolden. All right. John Ross. First round pick John Ross.
No.
High first round pick John Ross. Yeah, no. I mean, it took like the entire Giants receiving core to get injured or battle injury or, be a rookie for John Ross to have any kind of fantasy success. And I just don't think, like, with these guys coming back, it's going to repeat.
No.
Sorry, John Ross. That was all right. Easy segment, I guess, for us. Moving on, I think this will definitely be more interesting. Panic meter. And I'm just going to kick it off with, CeeDee Lamb on the panic meter. I think if you're watching us on segments, I'm just going to kind of repeat what Frank was saying about DJ Moore. It's kind of what I feel about CeeDee Lamb, where it's, to me, I don't think he's that kind of guy that can be the DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams that's really just mossing people and whatnot. I don't think he's got the Tyreek Hill speed. Like, I think, like DJ Moore, both these guys are very good, top 10 dynasty wide receivers. I'm just not willing to put him into my top 5 like he was being valued. And especially like when you compare him to Justin Jefferson, where there are people even this offseason, like reputable people saying, I would rather have CeeDee Lamb than Justin Jefferson. I just can't subscribe to that idea.
Where's CeeDee Lamb on Keep Trade Cut right now? I'm assuming he's dropped a couple of spots.
He was like 8, I think. I'll find it real quick, but I'm pretty sure he's like 8.
So I do view CeeDee Lamb as someone. I mean, I've always been higher on him.
6.
Even last offseason, I kind of compared him, and I said he's not very far off from Justin Jefferson to me in terms of dynasty outlook. I view them pretty similar, actually. I think CeeDee's going to be one of those guys that has potential to be like top 5 seasons, and a lot of them. This 2-week little skid. The Cowboys have just been successful running the ball. I'm not really overthinking it. He's a superstar. He's going to be a superstar receiver. I'd pay top 5 wide receiver price for him. He's someone like he's a receiver I'd buy high on. Like, I don't think it's
Wow.
overhyped. Like,
Those
I
are strong
legitimately would pay top 5 wide receiver price for CeeDee Lamb.
I think I think that's fair if you want to really pay up for him. I'm not sure I'm necessarily comfortable just spending the bag on him. I think I'd just rather
Also,
go
being
for a
paired with
different
Dak
player.
and it helps. But yeah, I'm paying top 5 price for CD.
But I would say that this is a buy opportunity. The slit hasn't happened enough. We need to see like 4 to 5 weeks of like pretty subpar play from CeeDee Lamb for there to be a real price difference from an owner. Maybe in some leagues, if a dude is just really panicking on him, maybe like okay,
No
you
one
can
should
get
be
him at a
selling
fair
low.
value, but like I really don't think his price has realistically fallen as much as like a keep trade cut will say he has fallen. Yeah, I don't know. I still value CeeDee Lamb pretty similarly. I never really bought into the top 3 receiver price. I was definitely way more. I'd much rather have Justin Jefferson like a good bit over CeeDee Lamb. But I think that right now is like a pretty fair valuation. Like, okay, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 8, somewhere in there. Okay, that's fine for CeeDee Lamb.
I just think wherever you're going to value DJ Moore is where CeeDee Lamb should be around too. That's just, I think they're very similar in that regard.
Those are fair. No, I've just always been higher on CD. For me, he's in my top 5. There are very few guys I would take over CD.
All right, but as far as panic meter, I mean, I'm
0.
I'm not panicked about CD.
That's the reason I said like I'd buy high on him. Like it should still be high. Like it's CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, if I could
here's the
move him
one
for...
thing of panic that I would say is that
if you're banking on him for right now,
it is annoying the fact that freaking Amari Cooper has just been outplaying him. He just has, plain and simple. Amari Cooper's been the better receiver this year on the Cowboys. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And to me, if I'm a CeeDee Lamb owner, that pisses me off because you bought into him, and if you held him, you were expecting CeeDee Lamb to be the wide receiver 1 on the Cowboys. And the fact that that has not happened is somewhat concerning because I feel like the consensus is that Amari Cooper is going to disappear in a year or 2. Well, what if that doesn't happen?
Fair point.
Is it just going to be this again where like, okay, CeeDee Lamb in some matchups and whatnot is great and it is really producing. But in other matchups, he has 3 targets for 50 yards.
My counterpoint, it's weird that I'm kind of defending CeeDee Lamb here, is the Cowboys are a team that surprisingly run the ball like way more than you would think. Like they're more of a run-heavy team than pass-heavy team. Like obviously they had that first week against the Bucs where they went crazy, but since then they haven't. And I also think you still have time for CeeDee Lamb to develop. You know, maybe Amari Cooper gets banged up more, maybe just the wear and tear from playing all these years. He's not playing at the elite level that he's currently playing at. And then you do have them as like an equal footing, similar target shares. Maybe CeeDee Lamb finally starts to pass him. So it's not impossible. I'm not willing to go pay that top 5 receiver price to go bank on it, but I'm still not panicked over that. I guess mildly annoyed. I'm mildly annoyed.
I'm not worried.
I'm more so kind of arguing like CD, not that he's overrated as a receiver. I'm just like, if I could sell him for, like a Tyreek Hill, something like that, dude, I think I'm gonna do that. I just like the fact that I'm getting a guy that's just insane. Tyreek Hill has put up numbers every freaking week. No one can stop him.
Would you give up him and a mid-first for Justin Jefferson? I'm keeping the CeeDee Lamb in mid-first side. Pretty easy. Not Jefferson. I'm taking the CeeDee Lamb in mid-first. That's what I think he's like going to follow kind of like that like real wide receiver 1 trajectory. Like in his prime, I think he can be Hopkins, Devontae Adams level.
Wow.
That's how high I am on CeeDee. I've been that way since last offseason too. I've been
I just don't think I'd do that trade. Like I like Justin Jefferson more than CeeDee Lamb. I just don't think I'm doing that trade.
Cut. That's what I'd take right now. But yeah,
I'd rather just go the other direction. I'd rather sell CeeDee Lamb on the hype into someone that's undervalued than go up and give up a first round pick into Justin Jefferson.
If you're getting T. Higgins in a first for CeeDee Lamb, are you doing that?
No.
You might be able to get more. I mean, I haven't even checked.
Yeah,
I don't know.
CeeDee
That's tough. I'm so up and down on CeeDee Lamb.
First,
like I don't think CeeDee Lamb's a bad player, and if you like him long term, like Lounis does, go ahead. But man, if once again, if I'm getting a top 5 price for CeeDee Lamb, I think I'd rather just stonk him than hold on to him.
All right.
Like, what's the value difference between CeeDee Lamb and Stephon Diggs? Right, especially because Stephon Diggs hasn't been having like the best amazing year ever.
I think he's valued slightly ahead of Stephon Diggs right now in keep trade cut terms.
Needs a decent amount.
It looks like I don't know, like a late third. Doesn't really tell me a player.
Okay, so it's really not that much, but like
they're about the same.
I think I'd rather just move down from CeeDee Lamb if possible.
Mid third, maybe.
I don't know. At the same time, though, I think Lounis is right in that we just haven't seen the ceiling of CeeDee Lamb. But like for this year, it's just he's been inconsistent. Like
I understand the frustrations with this season. I'm talking dynasty perspective, but I get it for this season.
There's a lot of assumptions that need to like that people are assuming about CeeDee Lamb that need to be true for him to be that kind of wide receiver top 5 guy. Which I mean he can, but you're betting on a lot. You're betting on Dak consistently passing more than 35 times a game, which he hasn't the past 3 weeks. You're betting on him eventually becoming that alpha target share guy. You're betting on, him staying healthy and whatnot. Yeah. There's just it's certain like big assumptions that I don't know will necessarily happen, but we'll see. Moving on, we got as like Frank likes to dub them, our waste
the
lords.
Waste Lords.
Yeah. And who's that mean? That means John Smith, Robert Tonyan, Adam Trautman, the tight end squad. And
the one that I'm lowest on is probably Trautman.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know about you guys, but I feel way worse about one of these guys than the other.
Yeah, than the other two.
Trautman. Jonnu Smith, though. All right, I mean, we're gonna bounce around, I guess. We'll just go in order. Jonnu Smith. My issue with Jonnu Smith is Hunter Henry had like 20. I was looking at this earlier today. Hunter Henry had like 20% more snap share than Jonnu Smith. I did have Hunter Henry above Jonnu Smith in my rankings, but I thought they'd be in 2 tight end sets a lot. There are reports coming out from Patriots beat writers saying that the Patriots find that they're actually
they've been more successful with 3 receivers.
Yeah, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. So
they're not especially against the Bucs, you're going to be though. To be fair, like why are you going big personnel against the Bucs? That's a death sentence.
Yeah, true. But if you're going 1 tight end and you're going Hunter Henry more often than Jonnu Smith, like there's not a lot to go around there. I mean, he's still probably the 3rd target on this team, so not bad. But normally, if you want tight end,
what's Johnny's price right now? You guys think like a late second, mid second?
Definitely lower than it was to start the season.
Is it like a late? Do you think you can get him for a late second, like a contender second?
I'm consulting Keep Trade Cut to see what consensus is.
Yes, you could get him for a late second.
The guys, interestingly enough, ranked around him: Hunter Henry. Then we got Frank's guy Cole Beasley, KJ Hamler, who I have to assume is going to just keep dropping for now, and Zach Pascal. I mean,
so he's really in the dumps.
Yeah.
He's more of like a third.
So what? That's I'd pay an early third for Jonnu Smith easily. I'd buy low if it's an early third.
Well, in a tight end premium league, especially, I think you're right. Like, I'm not like panic on Jonnu Smith. It's like, okay, at this point, like, what is there even to panic on? I'm not going to sell him for a third, especially in a tight end premium league, especially after a wacky game against the Bucs. I'm not sold that Hunter Henry is like the tight end moving forward. They still were splitting some of the 1 tight end packages. This is a wacky Patriots offense that's going to play the matchup. When you get a more favorable matchup for a bigger personnel, when they can actually be more of the run first team that we're expecting, we're going to see more Jonnu Smith, I think.
Yeah, it's a weird game. They barely had any rushing yards, and it's not like Hunter Henry historically has been a very like healthy player staying on the field all season. Go ahead, JT.
I was just gonna say more on the keep trade cut stuff. He's in that weird realm of a late second is too much for him, but an early third is not nearly enough.
So you probably have to pay a late second.
Yeah, you'd probably have to move a late second to try and get him. Or pick upgrade, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah. So, moving on. Robert Tonyan. This is an interesting one. Oh, I'm panicked. I think the touchdowns will come. He's only got 1 this year so far. He had 11 all of last season. But I do think so many people were like, oh, look, he was tight end 3, tight end 4, whatever, in whatever league you're in. He only had, let me see, 59 targets. Like, what if he gets more targets? And I was always of the opinion of, well, what if he just catches less touchdowns? Because, like, Aaron Rodgers literally threw a ton of touchdowns. Like, I think it was 50. He's just not going to get as many touchdowns. And with that, you're not going to get as much production. I do think touchdowns will come. I'm taking him over a lot of these Waste Lord guys. Like, I think I'd rather have Robert Tonyan over Jonnu Smith. But that's, I'm not ranking him that much higher. Like, he's not going to. I get that he finished as tight end 3/4 last year, depending on what league you're in. But I don't think we're going to ever see that kind of stuff from him again. You're not going to see that.
Well, one of the first encouraging signs is that his snap count has gone up the past 2 games compared to the beginning of the season.
Yeah. He had 7 targets last week.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that, we're starting to see the targets again. And that's just the biggest thing with tight ends is that I need targets. He's a dude that's playing around 70 to 80% of the snaps I see for the foreseeable future. Especially because the other Packers tight ends have really shown that they still suck. Guys like Randall Cobb are definitely eating into him, Amari Rodgers and whatnot. But, dude, I will gladly hold on to a tight end that is playing 70, 80% of snaps in a good offense that has a chance of getting that 5 to 8 targets from a good offense. He's a good red zone target over whatever the hell price you're going to sell him for.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I'd probably keep him in like the low value you're going to get at this point.
I'm also assuming tight end premium leagues, by the way.
Yeah, we're talking tight end premium.
Where I guess the panic has gone too far. If I were to give like a number, I'd say like a 5, maybe a 6. But I think the panic has gone too far to the point of now you're ranking Irv Smith Jr. above him. Dawson Knox is like well above him.
Dawson Knox is getting hyped up.
I think they need to be ranked similarly, Dawson Knox and Robert Tonyan. I think I might even still have Robert Tonyan ahead. But yeah, I'm not looking for, like, he might be a fringe top 12 guy every year, but I don't expect anything else. And
I'm much more panicking on Jonnu Smith than I would be Robert Tonyan. Because I feel like Robert Tonyan, we're going upwards, whereas Jonnu Smith is not.
Well, who I'm definitely panicking on out of these guys is Adam Trautman.
Juwan Johnson's outplayed him this season.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. I just think
he hasn't been the best tight end on this team.
When you're looking at Adam Trautman, there was too much that got brought into the Saints traded up for him and whatnot. Like, what has he done? I don't expect him to really do anything. He had a decent amount of targets in his first or second game, but then like there's nothing to go off. Like,
it's not a strong passing attack, and he's not even top 2 target. Never mind. I don't think he's the best tight end on that team, receiving wise right now.
Ship has just sailed though for Tonyan. Like, you're not going to get anything for him. I mean, Robert Tonyan and Jonnu Smith were both guys that even if people, it was just tough to get the price tag that you wanted for them at the beginning of the season. Trautman, you could have, because he had that, he's young, he's this, whatever. You're just screwed now if you held the bag. Would
you rather have Juwan Johnson or Adam Trautman?
I'd rather have Juwan Johnson.
Juwan Johnson.
Like, honestly, which is weird to say.
He's produced more.
Like Luna said, you watch the games, Juwan Johnson's just the better player.
Yeah. I mean, he was a receiver converted tight end.
Yeah.
Which helps when you're trying to
be when they throw the ball to Juwan Johnson, he makes really good plays. Like, he produces.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't think much more. Panic meter on Trautman's like an 8 for me.
The panic meter's a 10, but it's like everyone's 10. Panic meter's a 10. So
yeah. I think this next one is interesting.
Yeah. Moving on, Gabriel Davis, Buffalo Bills. My panic meter for him, I'll put a disclaimer. I was never really in on Gabriel Davis, but I'm probably at an 8 or so on Gabriel Davis. He's getting the veterans are ahead of him, and you're going to say, oh, well, how much more time does Cole Beasley have with this team? How much more time does Emmanuel Sanders have with this team? Fair, but who's to say they just don't bring in another good veteran later on?
You would have liked
Marvin Jones Jr.
I would have liked to see him biting into more of those targets Sanders is getting right now. I would have liked to seen coming into the season, I thought Sanders and Davis would have pretty equal production. But it's been Sanders by a decent amount. But obviously, he did show a lot of flashes rookie year. The downside is now all these people on Twitter, Victor Lap, we told you low round receiver, never trust the hype. Maybe it ends up being true. What'd you say your panic meter was? An 8?
An 8, yeah.
Not going that high. I'm probably going a 5, maybe 5.5, 6. I want to see more, but I'll let the season play out. I know Frank is probably the biggest fan of him here.
I still like Gabriel Davis. I think he's a great long-term buy. I just think that we haven't seen the chemistry with Josh Allen yet. I don't think that's necessarily going to change at all. I'm not buying Gabriel Davis because I'm oh, he's all of a sudden going to start producing. But I'm just gonna wait a little bit, or definitely test the waters. If I could buy Gabriel Davis for a 3rd round pick, I think the ideal scenario with Davis is that he kind of just does nothing for most of the season, and then in the offseason, I can go and pick him up for nothing. I do think he's going to have one of those games where he has a good matchup, kind of like an Isaiah McKenzie game, where he just has a couple of big plays, and then all of a sudden
2 touchdowns.
They just want to hold him. That's the one problem I have with buying Davis is that the people that have him still really like him and aren't just going to sell him for a 3rd.
You have to wait a couple more weeks.
Yeah, you're going to have to just have more weeks of crap, but I'm definitely going to test the waters, and if I have him, I'm still holding him firm. The only problem is that you probably promoted him off your taxi, which stinks. He's to me, a great taxi player to have in your second year.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. He's dropped from, I just looked on Keep Trade Cut, he's valued around an early second, almost pushing into a late 1st round pick for 2022, to now he's an early 3rd round pick. But
I would pay an early 3rd for him.
When you get to early 3rds, there's not if I like the player, there's not many I wouldn't pay. But to me, I'd rather just the 3rd than Gabriel Davis. Moving on, we got Jameis Winston. I don't know, a 6. I don't know how about you guys feel.
I'm definitely panicking to a certain extent.
I'm decent. Here's where I'm panicking with Jameis Winston. Has he done enough to make you guys think that he's going to be the guy next year there, starting?
Has he done enough to make you think that he's better than Jared Goff?
No. I'd rather have Goff. I think Goff has done more this season to retain his job for next year than Jameis has to retain his for next year. Now, I know it's not a very talented offense. You can make, what weapons do they have? The number 1 receivers who Callaway and Juwan Johnson. Those are fair points. But, it's not like Jared Goff has many, receiving weapons outside of Hawkinson and Swift. In terms of outside receivers, he doesn't really have anything either. And Jameis is in a similar situation having Kamara. So that's where I'm mostly worried. I think he could be an okay QB2 for the rest of this year, but I'm more worried about his long-term outlook because unless he steps it up, I think the Saints find a replacement next season.
Yeah, I think he's just going to stick around, though. I think he's just going to stick around, but I'm not necessarily sure that's a good thing because it really feels like he might just be a forever bridge quarterback now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's probably where I have the 6 or so. I think if you thought you're getting the
next long
that 30-30 Jameis Winston kind of guy who just slings it and you're getting a ton of points, that's probably where you're really panicking because you're just not getting those kind of points anymore. I think he's
also Taysom Hill takes his red zone crap too.
Yeah.
I think all 3 of us were definitely more on the sell than buy Jameis. Jake was the more buy Jameis kind of a guy. If you have him, the panic is definitely there in terms of he's just not going to be a long-term answer anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's starting to get to a point where I think he's a decent enough buy low because people aren't pricing in the longevity. I mean, dude, Jameis Winston, his work ethic is insane. I think he's a good player to have in your locker room, and like he's gonna like be a supportive dude. And he's a dude that if I had a rookie quarterback, I would love to have Jameis Winston in the building to be the starter and bridge quarterback.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree, and I think that's what he's going to end up being for these next couple of years. So, panic meter's high if you expected him to be the long term. If you didn't, then that's whatever. But now the next person we have on the list is Juju.
Yeah, our last panic meter guy. I'm giving him a 5, maybe a 4. That's
the only thing that kind of makes me more optimistic is the fact that he's still even though it feels like he's been in the NFL for like 6 years, he's still only 24 years old. So he's as old as DJ Moore, which kind of seems crazy. And he's a free agent after this year. I know last offseason, and I bet fantasy owners wish he accepted. He got an offer from Kansas City. He decided, and from Baltimore, he decided to stay in Pittsburgh. He's put up how many? 7, 13, 4, and then 2. He did get open a couple of times that Ben Roethlisberger just barely missed him on last week. There was one play, a post route where we could have been a deep touchdown, but I don't know. I'm panicking, I guess, if you expect a production this season, but he's a hold for me. I'm not selling him for like the low price that he is right now. I don't know how you guys feel.
I think it's a good buy low, to be honest.
But yeah, I was gonna say, if anything, a buy low. Like I'm saying, if I owned him, I'm holding.
I was trying to buy him during the offseason. I mean, I still stand by it. I think now I could buy him cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with all of these Steelers wide receivers. I think they're all just kind of in a result of just not a great situation.
Can you get Juju for a late second?
Probably not.
Late second, no, but mid second, I think you'd have a
mid second. I think you almost definitely can.
Yeah.
Late second, I don't think you can.
Mid late seconds, I think I'd be, especially in the 2022 class right now. I think I might be shoving around to see if I could get something for him. Or
Trade cut has him still ranked a little, just slightly below than an early second. Here's a weird question: Jacoby Myers or Juju? Who do you want?
I think Juju still.
I still think Juju. For this season, Myers, I think Myers has the better year this year. I just like Juju's talented. Like we've like you don't accidentally have like a 1,300-yard season, or I forgot what his year was a couple years ago. I just think this passing attack kind of a mess, and it's a result of Deontay Johnson and Claypool are just more talented. Those two are stud receivers who are both going to be stars. Like, and it's just he's good, but he's not as good as those guys. And I'm holding and buying low for the fact that hoping that he goes and signs somewhere next year where he can be the number 2 receiver on a decent passing attack.
I like Jacoby Myers, but he's currently valued like slightly above Juju. And if I can make that move of Myers into Juju, I'd probably do it.
Yeah.
Also, he's worth more than an early second right now, allegedly on keep trade cut. Jacoby Myers.
Give it a couple. Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, and I said I got clowned for saying that I would take a mid second for me to move him during the offseason. Not by
I like both of those players, though. The only problem I have with Myers is that his long-term outlook is still really uncertain, especially because...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, it's the Patriots. They still need receivers.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, you can make an argument that Kendrick Bourne was their best receiver the other day.
And you can make a solid argument for that, which is sad. Let's move on to Bear Great. I've got a fun little game for you guys. Looking at these guys, I only have one guy who I'd say isn't bait. So if we start moving through these guys, try and pick which one you think I'm going to say isn't bait. But let's kick it off. Van Jefferson, Los Angeles Rams. I think he had more or the same amount of targets as Robert Woods.
He's outproduced Woods on the season.
Has outproduced Woods on the season. Bait or great?
I could tell you as someone who owns him, I'm not taking him off my taxi squad yet. I don't feel comfortable enough to start him. If I own Van Jefferson, I feel encouraged, but I'm not like feeling comfortable enough to start him on a given week. Because I feel like he's the type of guy, he'd easily have 70 in a touchdown week, or he could easily have 2 catches for like 14 yards. I just want to see him produce on a consistent basis. He's been pretty boom bust this season, but I would be encouraged if I owned him. He looks better than last year. It looks like they're using him more. Obviously, the passing attack is just expanding in general. But the main part that just has me hesitant is I'm like, Robert Woods has to bounce back at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like Van Jefferson having this production and Robert Woods hasn't done much. Like, it's more in terms of my faith of Robert Woods. Like, I'm just thinking he's going to have to start producing again at some point. That's why I'm kind of.
I think I'm leaning. Like, I liked Van Jefferson at his price coming out. I picked him up in like the very early, late third of leagues, and like Lounis, I have him on the taxi squad in a league. I'm definitely leaning more bait than great. Like, I'm not paying what the price is to get him in leagues.
Yeah, I'm not paying a second for him right now.
I mean, fuck, I might even be looking to move him for a second. But and the main problem is that, dude, like, you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, D-Jax, obviously Van Jefferson. I think that eventually Tutu Atwell, you're going to start seeing why they draft him, because Tutu Atwell is really dynamic. And
he'll probably play that Deshaun role after this season.
To Van Jefferson.
And you still have Higbee, too.
Man, I'm just not loving the outlook for Van Jefferson. I think he's definitely more of a hold than anything.
Yeah.
Because I really doubt that other people are going to be paying seconds for him either.
He's an easy beat for me. I don't have much.
I just need to see it more on a consistent basis. Like, I'm perfectly fine with missing out on Van Jefferson's boom weeks in order just to like wait till I feel comfortable ever playing him. So if you had, like I said, if I had him, I'd be encouraged. I own him. I'm encouraged by what I see, but I'm not taking him off the taxi yet.
All right. Kardarius Toney. I could just walk off.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm going to
say. He had the Saints secondary on ice skates. Gardner Johnson, on a couple plays. Gardner Johnson needs some more ankle tape. Had him falling on his face. He got some turf in his helmet.
Lounis is ready to victory lap.
Listen, man.
One play.
I'm not saying it's I'm just saying it was encouraging. They finally got the ball in his hands. So Kadarius Toney, people have been begging for a while. Like, literally, just get the ball in his hands in some kind of space and let him try to make a play. I don't know. I just think it was too early to be victory lapping him being a bust. But at the same time, it's way too early to be victory lapping saying "I told you so." I think he can overtake. Definitely, I think he should overtake Slayton on the depth chart. I still think Shepard and Galladay right now are still more talented receivers, but I think he should be in that top 3 receiving core in the Giants. And we just have to see it more. Like, it's been 1 week. Those 2 guys were out. They finally got the ball in his hands, and he looked good. He's like he missed a lot of training camps, so it looks like he's finally getting caught up. Again, one of the things I'd be encouraged. I thought end of the second round he was going a little bit too late for someone who got drafted that high, but you need to see more.
What's his price right now on Keep Trade Cut?
I'd bet probably a mid-second, because he was going late second in drafts, so probably it's around maybe like 205 now.
Players ranked around him: Jordan Love, Elijah Mitchell, Terry Bridgewater. If we were looking at 2022 draft class, he's essentially right on the border of a 2022 mid-second.
Yeah.
Fuck, I really doubt the Kardarius Toney owners are selling him for that right now after that flash.
I wouldn't hate buying. I would buy for a mid-second if I owned one.
I'm like, I think I'm on that train. I think I'm on like the reverse Van Jefferson. I think he's more great than bait. I have 1 share of Kardarius Toney, and I wasn't necessarily happy about picking him up. But dude, he looks good. He looks good. Dynamic with the football. He needs to develop, though. That's the only problem. He still needs to develop as an actual receiver.
There's someone else on this list. I think he's going to have a very similar career, first 2-year career arc. So whatever. That's my little teaser. Moving on, Dawson Knox. We kind of touched on him a little bit. I'm saying bait. Again.
I like Dawson Knox. I think he's a good player. He's in a good offense. I liked him 2 years ago initially, and then last year was just too inconsistent. I still don't like him enough to think that he's outgrown the inconsistencies, especially just with kind of the game scripts and the way that things have been going for the Bills. That Miami Dolphins matchup was weird because of Jacoby Brissett coming in cold and they couldn't move the football. Then you play the Texans, who, I mean,
That was
Texans.
Davis Mills against like the best defense in football
Yeah,
right now.
the Bills are hot right now. So whatever is happening with the Bills, I don't expect to continue. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that Dawson Knox is a good player. And man, I really do think that Dawson Knox is going to finish the season as like a top 8, top 9 tight end. So
I think he's going to finish top 12. I think he's going to be one of those better.
Oh yeah, obviously going to finish fucking top 12.
Well, let me continue. My problem is, well, it's again the bad thing. I think he's touchdown dependent. I don't think you're going to get the really good fantasy games from him where he's not catching a touchdown. But the thing you could argue is Josh Allen is throwing for a ridiculous amount of touchdowns right now. It kind of comes down to how sustainable is that. Like the past 2 weeks, he's had like 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and then 4 the one before. Like the past 3 weeks, the Bills have just looked ridiculous. So it comes down to how sustainable you think that is.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd be buying him.
I don't even think he finishes top 12 tight end. I don't know. I guess that might be a hot take. I just
see, mine was obvious, but JP doesn't think
he's not going to catch enough touchdowns. He got a lot in the beginning. I don't think as the season goes on, he's going to get nearly as much. So yeah,
I still like Dawson Knox though. I think that he's a good player.
All right, moving on. He's not the one that I would say is great, Hunter Renfrow, but I do think he gets a little too knocked.
He gets ignored too much.
Yeah. My thing is, right, if you looked like Julian Edelman or, like an actual football player, like if we stuck Hunter Renfrow on this podcast, you wouldn't immediately think, wow, that guy plays football. Like that guy is an NFL wide receiver. Like he just has that weird hairline. Like he kind of looks like he could be
He looks like you're
somewhere out Midwest. Yeah, like he doesn't really look like that football player kind of guy. I tell him invest in a hat. A hat would definitely go a long way because that hairline's tough.
He's got to hit up LeBron for that fake hairline.
Yeah, I think if he looked more like a football player, he would get more value. I truly believe that. But at the same time, like it's my irrational love for Bryan Edwards, but I'm still very high on Bryan Edwards. I don't like Henry Ruggs a whole lot. I still like Henry Ruggs more than Hunter Renfrow. And then obviously there's Darren Waller there. So in my opinion, I think as the season goes on, he probably will be the 4th target. I think they will shake up and he will be the 4th target on this team. And I mean, based on how the Raiders offense was going the first 3 weeks, that's still not really a bad thing. But it's just, I don't know. I'm okay missing on and not paying for Hunter Renfrow.
I'm buying Hunter Renfrow. I like him.
I knew you would be.
Hey, he's a good player. He's at a very linear trajectory. Clearly what the Raiders are doing with, because they're running those option routes, right? Where he can
cut
from
in or
the
out.
slot decide depending on the leverage and the coverage where he wants to go. Him and Carr are clearly on the same page, more so than any other receiver on that football team. I think the Hunter Renfrow is here to stay.
If I had to pick I'm more towards JT just because I like the talent of Ruggs and Edwards. But I do think Renfrow is definitely one of those. I mean, he's been producing. I would feel comfortable starting him in a flex right now if you had to for a week. I think he's going to be one of those guys, though, that's like way more valuable in like on a real team than he is in fantasy, if that makes sense. It's like a better football.
The thing is, though, with Hunter Renfrow, is that he's producing, yet his price hasn't jumped as high as I thought it would be. So I do think there's still a buy opportunity, like a buy high opportunity on him.
Yeah, no, if you like Renfrow, you can still buy him for relatively cheap. I'm
probably not, but like I don't hate if you do. Like there's some other players I'd be like, all right, why'd you go out?
So we got
obviously Toney.
Is Quez Watkins a buy?
Oh.
I don't think any of the Eagles receivers are really a buy right now.
Outside
of at least for me, if you can get a really good price on Devontae Smith. I'm just not a huge fan of the offense outside of like Kenny Gainwell and the rookies, basically.
Yeah, I don't know because he's had explosive plays, but I kind of see him following a Marquise Goodwin career trajectory where like he'll have like an occasional play where like he'll break off, like we saw the 90-yard completion. But I mean, following them through training camp and through games, Rager has always kind of been still over him on the depth chart, and been like more consistent. And Rager's not even like doing all that. It's pretty much Devontae Smith, the tight ends, and the running backs. And the running backs don't get much either. So I don't know if I'm going out and buying Quez Watkins right now. If I had him, I would just hold, but I don't think he's
Quez Watkins is not going to be. I'm never going to feel comfortable starting Quez Watkins in my lineup.
Exactly.
He's the what?
He's the third receiver on an inconsistent passing offense.
But I'm saying he's the sixth.
He's behind Goddard.
He's the sixth receiving target because you got to think it's Devontae Smith.
I think he could easily be over Rager, my dude.
Goddard. I still like Rager a decent amount more. I think Rager's more. I think Quez Watkins might be more explosive, but I'm taking Rager consistently. You still have Devontae Smith, Goddard, Zach Ertz is still there, Rager, whichever running back is on the field, probably gain well in the receiving game, and then it's Watkins. I think he'll have the explosive play here and there, but I'm not buying it.
The only guy that I kind of want out of that team is Goddard, and even then, I'm not willing to like full-fledged pay above market for Goddard. So.
Yeah, it really does depend on what the price you are paying for Goddard is in that move.
All right, here's the guy though. Great's a strong word, but Darrell Henderson. I feel like I gotta backtrack a little bit and say I was kind of wrong on him. Where
it's not as split a backfield as people thought it was going to be.
Frank was hitting it right where he's saying that the Sean McVay is going to pick the running back and he's just going to lean on him. And Lounis was right in terms of like that's Darrell Henderson all the way. And it looks like it's just until Darrell Henderson literally can't play, it's going to be Darrell Henderson carrying the ball for the Rams, and he's just going to reap all those benefits. So, yeah, Darrell Henderson, I think great is a strong word, but
it's his.
I'm feeling very good.
Yeah, it's his backfield. He's completely outplayed Sony Michel. And Sony Michel's been nice filling in when Henderson was hurt, but Henderson in the games he's played and finished, I have a tweet there pulling up the stats, 110 out of 120 snaps, 30 of the 34 running back carries, 100% of the running back targets, and all of their touches inside the 10-yard line. And even the game he got hurt, he was getting all the touches until he got hurt, and then Sony Michel started coming in. So as long as Henderson's healthy, I think he's like a good RB2 for this season. Obviously, and that's where I think me and JT are saying great. Obviously, the question with Henderson, and we'll have to wait and see how he looks post-injury because it's impossible to predict is how's that backfield going to look next year with Akers and Henderson. And I think right now it's impossible to give an answer because it depends on how Akers looks coming off the injury. But for this season, I like Henderson. He's looked good running the ball. He's been involved in the receiving game. And even last week in like a bad game script for a running back where the Rams were playing from behind for most of the game, he still put out a solid performance. I think he had like 14 points and have PPR. So I like him for the season. I'll say great.
I'm fading him just because I'm stuck in my ways. Quez Watkins had 7 targets last game. Yeah, Jalen Hurts threw the ball 50 times, and that was easily his most amount of targets in a blowout loss. I really don't expect Jalen Hurts to be throwing the ball 50 times a game, man.
No, definitely.
You can go ahead and start Quez Watkins, but when he goes and puts up another 3-target game, like I just really like even in a flex spot, even as a desperation flex play, like dude, I'm starting Quintez freaking Cephas over him possibly, and that's a problem.
Yeah. All right. Last guy, ready to wrap it up.
AJ Green.
I don't know. He's coming out of Georgia. I kind of like this guy. I think he can have a good long career. Hopefully the Bengals don't draft him. He'll end up being a beast. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird team where, I mean, we've seen it already. Like Christian Kirk had his game. DeAndre Hopkins has his games, obviously. Rondell Moore's had his game. Like, I don't know. It's going to be kind of an annoying team to predict. And AJ Green just feels like the guy who's going to be the least likely of them to
I'm saying bait. I think it's 2 things. And if I owned him, I'd be trying to kind of capitalize on this 3 straight decent weeks yet. One, I don't know if you've seen DeAndre Hopkins the past 2 weeks hasn't gotten into double-digit points. He hasn't really produced. That's not going to – it's DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to get his targets up. He's went up against Jalen Ramsey last week, was shadowing and following. Well, I don't know if he was shadowing, but he was on Hopkins for most of the game. And then I just think Rondell Moore throughout the season, as he plays more, is going to get more snaps, and I think he's better. And so AJ Green will have his weeks, but I would be looking to see what I can get right now trying to sell to a contender. If you could sell him on the fact that he's had 3 straight weeks of double-digit points and like trying to sell on that Kyler offense. But I think I lean on bait just because Hopkins is going to produce more, and I think Rondale Moore is too.
I agree. I think he's a bait.
Same.
He's also just been really efficient on his targets, which, I mean, he's a good player, but I'm not sure I see that necessarily continuing. Listen, I think it could be a nice win-win trade, right? If you sell AJ Green to a contender, you pick up an early third for him, and AJ Green's still decent and he has his good games and his flex viable, but then after the season probably goes back to nothing really.
Yeah. Perfect.
I would definitely be on the seller side of that trade, though. I'd look to be.
Yeah, I'm probably not buying AJ Green unless I really need a flex, and then I'll give up your third. But yeah, all right. So season 2, episode 9, in the books. 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. Thank you all for watching. Follow us on Twitter at DynastyGT, at 3rd and 20, at Dynasty Lounis. I don't know. I'm pulling out the Stardom Cinemas right now. Currently crushing Fabiano.
You got to chill out that, man. Fabiano,
And Fabiano's making easy picks.
I did check. 4 straight weeks he said to sit the defense that's playing the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's the reason I started this whole thing, is because he did stuff like that. And I'm like, how is this an award-winning fantasy analyst? I'm sorry, Michael Fabiano. I have nothing against you personally. Make your money how you make your money. But I could do this too, clearly. So, all right. 3rd and 20, season 2, episode 9.